home's value increasing over time, right? So I want you guys to understand that this isn't created from working a second job. You're not starting a business. This is just you living your everyday life and your home is appreciating in value. It's pretty significant. When we look at the Denver market, I'm gonna go back and give you guys some stats here. When we look at the Denver market, in 2019, did you know the average home value was $420,000? Fast forward to 2024, that value was at $570,000. That's just a little over 140,000 in appreciation alone. So keep in mind, these values do vary based on property type, specific location, and neighborhood, but it just goes to show you how powerful the Denver real estate market truly is. So, again, home ownership isn't just about having a place to live. It's about building wealth through appreciation and equity. I also want to highlight when we look at the average homeowner's net worth. The average homeowner's net worth is $396,000. You compare that to a renter, it's at $10,000. That's pretty stark. Understand, there's no income difference when we're talking about home ownership. Every month, when a renter makes a payment, they're building someone else's equity, their landlords. But when you are a homeowner, you are putting money into an investment that is appreciating over time and building your own equity. So my question to you is, what side of the equation do you want to be on? Now, let's take a closer look at an example of appreciation and how it compounds over time. So I want to share with you guys a real client story. So at this time, my seller had a lot going on. He wanted to sell his house. Now, his problem was it was very cluttered. He wasn't the cleanest person. He had a lot of stuff everywhere. So when he came to me, I'm very passionate about meeting my, clients with where they are. He came to me and he said, I just want a quick cash offer and be done, bring me your investors, right? So after months of getting that investor special offer, he was not happy. Now, mind you, anytime I go in with any seller that I'm serving, I will always pull a comparative market analysis to truly show you what is going on in your neighborhood, what's trending, what's trading, and help you understand the position of where your home stands when it comes to selling on the market. So we went through all of that. We went through the months of rigmarole of investor offers. He was not happy. Now, when we had that initial consultation, he said, I'm very firm, 400,000, where I'm not selling. Okay, great, Mr. Seller. So here's what we're gonna have to do. I'm gonna need you to take your time, clean up the home, take it day by day, and just do what you need to do to position this home for a buyer to come in and really see its potential, right? So that's what he did. He trusted the process. Now, let's dive into the numbers. I want you guys to understand, back in 2009, he purchased this home for $178,000. We sold it last year for $450,000. His total appreciation gain was $272,000. And also keep in mind, when we're thinking about Denver's annual appreciation, which it averages between 4 and 6%, he maintained on average a 6% appreciation in a about 17-year period. So this, again, he didn't work a second job. He didn't have another business. He was just an everyday hardworking individual, bought himself a home, and it paid out for him. He was firm at 1,000. We sold at 450,000. So I want you guys to know that as your trusted guide and advisor, it is important for me to help you understand your home's position and how we can maximize the return on your investment. So now, I want to talk to you about why the Denver real estate market remains strong. So, Denver has a long-term story. Denver has remained one of the strongest real estate markets for decades. Over that 5-year average that I gave you between 2019 to 2024, Denver maintained a 6.9% appreciation annually. And that's not by accident. That's very long term. When we look at the data and you look over the 4-year period in Colorado, you will see that it has maintained an appreciation anywhere between 4 to 6%. Now, I want to talk about a little bit about the pandemic boom. Between 2020 and 2021, those were the extraordinary years, I like to say, or I call them the unicorn years, because during that time, rates were historically low. I mean, there was a buyer surge. Home prices were soaring, right? It was like the Wild Wild West, if you ask me. People were waiving their appraisals, waiving their inspections, just doing all kind of foolishness. But I digress. I want to I want to also note that even in 2022, when we started to see interest rates rise, and they were going into the 7% and the 8%, that year we still had a 13% appreciation. Now, the market has cooled down. When we look at 2023, we were around 4.5% in appreciation, which is still pretty strong, to approximately 2024 at 1.5%. But I wanna be clear here. The main takeaway is this isn't, don't think just because we saw the 1.5% appreciation, we're headed towards a market crash. This is simply the market in this current time returning to a healthier, more sustainable pace. Also, I want to note the 3 core reasons why Denver remains strong. We have a really great population growth here. People continue to move here. But another major piece is going to be the limited housing supply. So we still don't have enough homes, even right now, to meet the current buyer demand. When I last checked months of inventory, we were at 13 weeks. So what does that mean? That essentially means that if no new homes were listed, that's how long it would take to sell the inventory, right? If no other sellers came to the market. It's pretty drastic, right? So due to the historical limited supply, that's what's helped drive the home prices here in Colorado. Also, I want to highlight, we do have a strong economy and a job market here. Denver continues to attract people from the tech sector, the medical field, but strong population growth, housing supply, and a healthy job market continue to support Denver's long-term real estate market. So, what does it actually cost? I get this question a lot. What does it actually cost to get into home ownership? So this is for my first-time home buyers, right? So you are gonna have earnest money when you submit an offer on a home. That earnest money is typically gonna be due within 1 to 3 days of going under contract. It is usually around 1% of the purchase price. So in this example, we're looking at maybe a $400,000 home. That would put you at $4,000 that will be submitted to title, and they'll hold it in escrow for you. Then you're gonna have to consider your home inspection. Highly encourage any of my clients to do a home inspection. I would never tell anyone to waive a home inspection. But the cost there, you're gonna be looking at anywhere between $400 to $900. Also, you're gonna have to consider your appraisal. Your appraisal is gonna run you anywhere between $500 to $1,000, and then you'll also have closing costs. Typically, closing costs is gonna be anywhere between 2 to 3% of the purchase price. So in this example, you're looking at, give or take, anywhere between $13,000 to $17,000 all in. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions I always hear is, I don't have a down payment. I don't have, the money or the resources. The truth is, Colorado has an abundance of resources, more resources than I feel like most people actually realize. So, a turn here, so I'm gonna reference some of these programs. So, again, a lot of these programs, there are down payment assistance programs, there are grant resources out there to help people. And this is essentially a way to make home ownership more affordable when I'm thinking about the first-time home buyer. I know the barrier to entry in Colorado can be enormous, right? Like it's not cheap. You are making an investment, but I promise you it will pan out for you when you make it. So the first program I kind of want to highlight is a chapter program. It is for first-time generational home buyers. So with this program, Chapel will give you $25,000 in down payment assistance, and that 25,000 is deferred until you either sell or refinance the home. You do have to be a first-time generational home buyer, meaning your parents never bought a home. Typically with Chapel, you'll need a credit score of 620, give or take. And what's really fascinating about Chapel is they only require you to contribute $1,000 with a lot of their programs. Another program I want to highlight is the Deerfield program. Some of you may be familiar with it, maybe you've heard about it. Deerfield is now offering $50,000 in down payment assistance. And it, requires the same thing as Chapel. Once you sell or refi, you will have to pay those proceeds back. This program is designed for African Americans. They do have income requirements. You do have to qualify with a mortgage product. And luckily, we've got some great lenders in the room, and they can go more into that with you. Now, this next program is truly a grant. It's quite special to me. It's a nonprofit for women, by women. We have a special grant for moms, single women, up to $10,000. These funds can be used for closing costs, down payment assistance, post-closing. If she needs appliances, repairs, contractors to come in and do work, she can tap into that $10,000 proceeds and get what she needs. Now, another program, and I want you guys to know, this is just a glimpse of what's out there. There is so much more. But I'm sorry? I will have that information when we do our one-on-one. Yes, ma'am. So there's another program. It's a FHA program. It is for first-time buyers. It is a 2% grant up to $6,000, and it's forgivable after day one at closing. So the main thing I want you guys to take away is a lot of these programs are designed to drastically reduce your out-of-pocket costs and help you start building wealth through home ownership. Okay, so now let's go into the 7 steps to home ownership. I personally put these together. The first one is know your numbers. I would encourage each and every one of you to understand your own budget and where you stand financially. You should know what's going on in your financial household. You should also be able to come to your realtor and, most importantly, your mortgage lender to say, this is what I can comfortably afford. This is where I want to be. And then from there, they will help you make a plan, right? So know your numbers, know your budget, right? You don't have to share that with me, but a lot of people do. But most importantly, you'll have that conversation with your lender. Next is going to be to build your team. Sit down with a realtor, professional, and tell them what it is that you desire, what it is that's most important to you in home ownership. I'm someone who's just very passionate. I always want to know your why, because as we're going through this process, it is going to be very challenging at times. It's not going to just be, this easy as baking a cake process, but we're definitely going to do our best to make it that way. But there's going to be highs and lows in this process. There's going to be a lot that's required of you with, documentation and paperwork and just staying on top of things. But that's where your team comes in, your real estate professional and an awesome mortgage broker and or lender to help you and hold you accountable throughout this process. So once you build your team, you get pre-approved with your lender, we start shopping for homes. I will always do a one-on-one consultation with you because again, I want to know what's most important to you. What is your why? And what are your top 3 to 5 priorities or must-haves in a home? Because I'm going to always put my focus there as we're going through that process, right? Next, you find your home. I often find that when we're out shopping and we're looking at homes, it's a feeling you get. You just know, like in your heart of hearts, you just know. And it's quite special. I have prayed with clients at homes. That's how transformative and just how powerful it can be in the moment, right? After you find your home, we make an offer. We will always sit down and strategize your offer together. One of the additional services I provide with clients is I will always run a market analysis because I want to make sure you are making a sound investment. I want to know, well, how does this home compare to the homes that have sold and why are they at this price? Because I'm the realtor who's going to go to the listing agent and ask questions like, well, how did you arrive at this price? And what's most important to the seller? And, I'm asking questions because I'm advocating for you, right? I want to make sure we get you the best terms out the deal, right? After you make an offer, you'll go through your due diligence periods. You'll have certain dates and deadlines. We'll be holding you accountable, your agent and the lender. And from there, we're on our way to closing and celebrating. Okay, so I want to be able to highlight what it really means to protect your investment. I feel like a lot of people don't realize that the Colorado contract is designed to help protect your investment. As a buyer, you have certain contingencies in place to make sure that you are making a sound financial investment. The first one is going to be your inspection contingency. So this is going to give you the opportunity to hire a professional to inspect the home before you fully commit. If there are any significant issues discovered during this inspection process, we will have a conversation, we'll talk to the seller, and we'll come up with a game plan for what we want to do. But that inspection is key because they are going to inspect everything from the roof to the foundation to the mechanicals and everything in between the walls. We want to know everything that's going on with that home. One of my inspectors, he's so thorough, he's taking pictures of patches in the wall, you got a scratch right there, so that way as a homeowner, as you are living in it, you have kind of something that you can reference to say, I just want to go back and fix that patch, or we should repaint, over here what happened, right? Just the littlest things. So inspection, super, super important. If you and the seller cannot reach a mutual, comparable resolution, you terminate the contract and we move on. Next, you're gonna have your appraisal contingency. This is super, super important. This is gonna protect you if the home doesn't appraise, upon the agreed upon purchase price. So you have this in place as you're to make sure that this home is appraising at the offer price. If not, it's the same thing. You go back in, we negotiate, we'll ask the seller for concessions, we'll ask for a credit, and hey, if you don't reach an agreement, we're just gonna terminate the contract and we move on. You're also gonna have a financing contingency in place, and this is one of those items your lender will go more into with you, but effectively, they just wanna make sure you're happy with your loan terms and make sure your financing doesn't fall through. Luckily, I have never had to go through that. I work with some amazing lenders. They're sharp, they know what they're doing, because I don't like surprises. I don't want to go to my buyer with a surprise. So, but they want to make sure you're good there. The last piece is going to be your title insurance. So this helps protect your ownership rights. So when title runs a search on that property, they're going to be making sure there's no issues such as liens, deficiencies, judgment, anything that could came up with a seller, a previous seller. We want to make sure you get a clean and clear title to that property. And that's obviously going to give you peace of mind to keep moving forward, right? So these are the protections I pay attention to as your realtor. These are super important. I look at the title commitment myself. I make sure you reviewed it. I like to say during this process, I'm probably getting on your nerves. If I'm not getting on your nerves, I'm not doing my job. I should be bugging you, right? But again, my job isn't just to help you buy a home, it's to help you make and protect one of the greatest investments you will make. So I want to go into, I'm coming to a close here, but how do I help my clients? Integrity, doing what's right at every step, transparency, educating and guiding with clarity so you always know where you stand, and strong advocacy throughout every stage of this process. So I fight for you. Your win is truly my mission throughout this process, and I stand by that. I always like to joke, like, once we close, I'm pretty much family at this point. Like, we are locked into this. Like, you cannot get rid of me. But the biggest takeaway I want you guys to understand is work with somebody who is truly going to advocate for you and have your back through and through. Like, I really feel that God put me on this earth to serve, and this is how this is gonna be one of the many ways that I serve, because there's so much more for me to do. But I don't take this lightly. It is no small feat, and this is truly an investment. So, I want to conclude my presentation with saying, start building your wealth today with one strategic move at a time. If you would like to connect with me further, this is my contact information. You can scan the QR code. It'll bring up my digital business card as well. And I thank you all for your time. Okay, and with that being said, I am going to introduce our next presenter. She is one of my amazing lender partners. I've had the pleasure of working with her on many different occasions with clients. She's going to be talking to you guys about the VA loan and how you can strategically leverage the VA loan, what it means, and how she helps veteran buyers. So without further ado, Ms. Judy Jones. Actually, very walk. I'm a mover. Okay. Well, I'm grateful. Thank you, Octavia, for inviting me to be a part of this. And it's so nice to meet all of you. I appreciate your time today. And we'll get started. And I have to face that. Make it work. Wait. All right, little technology issues. It's not a real event unless you have some technology issues. Okay, well, I am Judy Jones, and I'll tell you a little about myself. I am actually very passionate, as Octavia is, about helping homeowners into building wealth with with real estate. I have, in over my 20 plus years of home lending, I've helped many, many families find solutions when they thought the door might have been closed. It's sometimes a little bit of a scary process to step into this, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. But I like to take time and walk with somebody, sit down, make a plan, make sure we're moving forward in the right path. And at your own leisure, if you want to go fast, we can go fast. If you want to go slow, we go slow. But you got to feel comfortable when you make this very major life decision. Something that is near and dear to my heart is serving veterans. My husband is a veteran of the Army, and he served in Germany. He was there when the wall came down, so pretty exciting. We have a piece of wall asbestos and in a little glass case, but yeah, it's pretty cool. He got to help take that wall down. So I am passionate about helping veterans into homeownership.
I work with Universal Lending Home Loans. I've been with them going on 12 years now. And they're a solid company. We are now nationwide, so we can assist in other states as well. I personally am licensed in Colorado, Texas, and New Mexico. So anybody that you may know who's moving to other states, happy to help them as well. And like Octavia was saying, when she was mentioning about building wealth, renting versus owning, it is so important that, when you're renting, you're actually building someone else's wealth. And if you have the ability to start taking that housing payment that you're making and putting that into your own asset that grows, building that wealth over real estate is one of the most solid investments you can make. It's leveling out right now, just like Octavia said. However, you don't have to worry about a landlord evicting you. You can decorate the walls whatever color you want. You can put up beautiful curtains. However you want to live in your home, it provides stability. And you have tax deductions. You can deduct your mortgage interest on your income taxes. And you have full control over your home. It's your place. And it's a safe, sound investment. Okay, what makes a VA loan different than other, other mortgages? Well, the good thing about a VA loan is you can have a 0% down payment if you have full eligibility. Okay, so no 0% down, so you can finance 100% of that sales price. There's no monthly mortgage insurance payment. So what goes into a housing payment is your principal interest and your property taxes and your home insurance. And when you don't have 20% down, then you have what's called private mortgage insurance to cover the lender, for protection for the lender in case of default because you don't have enough money into the investment. VA guarantees those loans for the veteran. The other thing is VA has an extremely competitive interest rate, typically lower than a conventional mortgage. So that helps in the housing payment as well. The VA doesn't require a minimum credit score either. So that may have a little bit of effect on your qualifying ability, but if you have a lower credit score, we can sit down and discuss how to make that work. And it could potentially qualify you for a VA loan. No prepayment penalty. You can always make extra principal payments if you want to try to pay off that mortgage faster, and the benefit is a lifetime benefit. So if you sell your home with that VA loan, you can reuse it to buy the next home. If you decide to keep that property that you build equity in as a rental property, then if you have enough eligibility for the next house, you can move into your next house and still use that VA home loan benefit. So those are some very positives, very good positives for VA lending. What type of house can we buy with a VA loan? Well, the standard, the typical home is a single family home is the most common. Most people want to own a single family unit with a yard, have your dog in the backyard. Some people don't like that. Some people may want to be in a condo. I don't want to do yard work. I want to mow the lawn. You can do condos, townhomes. And the one thing is the VA has to approve the condo complex. So if you're shopping for a condo, talk to the lender first, and we can look that up to make sure it's a VA approved condo complex. Okay? Also, manufactured homes. When a manufactured home is built in a factory, it's transported out to the lot and it's put together. As long as the title of that manufactured home is purged into real estate and it's secured to that property and taxed as real estate, then it becomes like a single family home. And then we also offer new construction, renovation, and energy efficient mortgages. So VA, let's say you find a home and it needs a little bit of love, like the one maybe Octavia was speaking about earlier, needed to be cleaned up, there might need to be new windows installed. VA will allow you to finance those repairs into the home loan as long as you qualify for that. So we can walk you through that with a contractor and what that looks like. Okay? Who is eligible for a VA home loan? If you served or someone you know has served, VA helps active duty service members, veterans, National Guard and Reserves, and surviving spouses. If the spouse was killed in service, while they were in service, and they lost their spouse, that spouse can assume that VA benefit to help purchase a home as well. The number one rule, though, is in order to find out if you're eligible for VA lending, is we obtain a certificate of eligibility. Don't assume that you may not qualify, even if you don't think you've served long enough in the military. We have to check with the VA. You might be there if you've served for a long enough period of time. You can check that on your certificate of eligibility. Even with less than an honorable discharge, it's worth submitting and trying to obtain that information from the VA so we know where you stand when you're ready to buy that home. Okay. So, how do we get the VA certificate of eligibility? So a couple ways you can do that on your own. You can go to the VA website. There's VA benefits. There's benefits, va.gov, or you can just go to va.gov. And it'll walk you through how to get your certificate of eligibility. You do need your D-214, which is your discharge papers when you leave the military, or if you're still active duty, you have what's called the statement of service. And those documents will help you obtain your certificate of eligibility. Or you can talk to your lender and we can pull it for you. So you bring your veteran paperwork to us. We can get online to the VA portal and we pull it within a matter of a minute. It comes in that quickly. So we can help you find out what that eligibility is. Okay, VA does charge what's called a funding fee. For that, they guarantee your loan, and that gives them the ability to fund loans for future veterans as well. That funding fee can be financed into the loan amount and part of that housing payment. So usually, most veterans finance that into the loan amount. That funding fee will vary based on how many times you've used your benefits, and we can look that up for you. First time use is the lowest use, okay? And then the website, the VA website has the chart for all of the different funding fees. And then who's exempt? So if a veteran has a service-related disability or earns income from a service-related disability, then you may be exempt from that funding fee, which could save you quite a significant dollar amount. So we can check that certificate of eligibility, and it tells us if you're exempt or not, and it tells us what your disability income is on that certificate. And same with the surviving spouses. It'll be on that certificate of eligibility as well. Okay, one bonus, I know that Octavia had mentioned about CHAPA, the Colorado Housing Finance Authority. They offer the first generation program, but they also offer up to $25,000 for any client who is living with a permanent disability or a parent, any parent of a child living with a permanent disability. So if you are a veteran and you qualify for that, the minimum credit score is 620, and you have to do a homebuyer education class in order to qualify for CHAPA Down Payment Assistance Program. It's a silent second mortgage. So to reiterate what Octavia said, is when you go to sell the house or refinance, that silent second mortgage comes due, and you can roll that into the loan amount. But there's nowhere that you can borrow up to $25,000 for a zero interest rate, zero payment for 30 years. It just sits in the background, which is basically helps you access that property. You're able to buy the home if you don't have the cash saved up. Okay, VA also has another benefit for veterans with their mortgage financing. They protect the veteran and limit the amount of closing costs that a veteran can pay. It's basically protection for that vet. Any closing costs over and above, the lender has to cover, or we work with seller contributions to help cover additional closing costs that the VA does not allow the veteran to pay. What costs do go into that the veteran could pay are the appraisal fee and the credit report fees, recording fees, some title services fees, property taxes, home insurance, of course. And then some of the lender origination charges can go only up to 1% of the sales price or the loan amount. Correction, loan amount, 1% of loan amount. So sellers can contribute up to 4% of the sales price towards those closing costs. You might be able to get all of your closing costs covered in the contract with the seller contribution. If we have excess closing costs, we can buy down that interest rate to help lower that housing payment. The only loan out there that is allowed to contribute to a veteran's debt. So you can actually pay off a credit card with a seller contribution. There's no other loan that allows that but the VA loan. I have a quick story. I have a young man who was just discharged from the military, and he found his dream home, and he was able to get up to a $25,000 credit from the seller, which we used for closing costs and buying down the interest rate, and we paid off 2 of his credit cards. And he was set up, and all he needed was his housing payment and his car payment, and he was good to go. So it was an awesome benefit. No other loan does that. Okay, occupancy requirements. VA only allows you to purchase a home as a primary residence. You have to live in that residence at least a minimum of 1 year, and then you can turn it into a rental property and go buy another property if you want to build wealth with real estate and start living in properties, selling them, and moving on. Now, typically what I've seen in the past is that a veteran can hold about 2 properties with their benefits, and then it's maxed out. So we can work through that if you have questions. What considered an owner-occupied property is you have to move in within 60 days of closing. So if you have time, or however your realtor writes the contract, you have some time to move into that property. And you can also do what's called house hacking. You can buy a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex, move into one side, rent out the other units, use that income to help cover your mortgage payments. Again, building wealth. It's pretty cool. Go. And if you're on active duty and you're deployed, let's say to another country, your family, your spouse, or your dependent children can live in that home and it still be considered an owner-occupied property. Need my minute. Getting started. So, after you speak with your realtor, you're ready to go. You need to pre-qualify for the home so you can go shopping for your new home. We'll sit down, we take a look at the application. We start with your credit authorization, normally with what's called a soft credit pull. Doesn't hit your credit score, and we can take an overview of what your credit looks like, if there's any work that needs to be done. We'll walk through that path. If you take those steps, and you come back, and then we pull a credit report, usually you're good to go. We take a look at employment and income. VA likes to see steady employment, typically a 2-year history, in the same line of work. You can also use that VA income, that disability income to qualify. And your assets. You know, we have a 0 down payment, and if we don't get a seller credit, we want to make sure you have money to pay for those closing costs. Like Octavia mentioned, that could be up to 13 to 17,000, 2 to 3% of the sales price. So we can work towards that if you need to build up your assets as well. And we can also pair CHAPA down payment assistance or other down payment programs that are available. There's multiple ones, city and county programs, and including for single women and moms. I love that program too. Okay, well, that's me. Here's my QR code. And I do want to thank every veteran in the room, if there are any, for your service. It is truly a self-sacrificing position to take when you serve in the military. So I'll be back in the back if you have any questions, and I'm going to introduce, do I actually introduce, or you want to do? Okay, I'm going to turn this over to Octavia so she can introduce our next speaker. Thank you, Jamie. You're amazing. Amazing. Appreciate you. So our next guest speaker is going to be Stephen Tillman, another one of my amazing lender partners. He's going to be talking to you guys about HELOCs and cash out refis, what it is, who does it make sense for, how can it best be utilized as you are building wealth through real estate.
Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Good. Well, I wanted to come and talk to you a little bit about a little different aspect of homeownership. What you've heard earlier is ways to get into a home, ways that the home can benefit you, and what have you. This is going to be a little bit of an overview for those that are already homeowners and how you're able to unlock some of that equity that's in you. So we'll just go through it and kind of keep it as a brief overview. I'll be in the back if anybody has any more specific questions, but I just want to talk about a couple ideas and a couple things that I think we can utilize to unlock some of this equity. So really my goal today is to make sure that you guys understand first and foremost what home equity is, the differences between a HELOC and a cash out, and then just have some common sense practical discussions about how we can utilize them and how you can benefit you and your families to continue to build wealth. So one of the easiest things to talk about in real estate is home equity. It's everybody's favorite. It's the reason that we're doing it. But home equity is really just thinking about, a simple definition is what your home value is minus what you owe on the home. So in the example that you see, if you have a home that appraises at $600,000, so the appraiser went out and determined the value of the resale value of your home would be $600,000, and you took out a loan for $400,000, you've got $200,000 in available equity. Basically, what would be left over after you pay off all of the debts and encumbrances that are on your home. Now, the trick to this is a lot of us in this that are homeowners are sitting on lots of equity. As you saw on Octavia's slide earlier, a lot of these values have begun growing. And the more improvements you're doing in your house, the things you're doing to upkeep the house, are continually increasing that value. That's great, except that value's on paper, because you have to figure out a way to actually use it. You can't go up to your home like it's truthfully an ATM machine and it just spits out 200,000. If it did, nobody would be in the room now. You'd be at your house getting your ATM machine. So the reality is, we've got to figure out how to tap into this. And there are some products we'll talk about, such as a HELOC or a cash out. The obvious ways that equity grows are as you buy that house and you begin to make payments and you're paying down what you owe on the house. In theory, every month your house value is going up and you're pushing down what you owe every month by making a payment. So you're increasing the value of your home or the equity by paying down what you owe. Well, the other thing that is happening at the same time is home appreciation. And we've been very blessed in Denver, with how this appreciation has grown through COVID when it rapidly accelerated to now to where it's still doing better than many, many municipalities. I grew up in Dallas, Texas. So a lot of homes you'll see are cheaper price point in Dallas, Texas. But that $300,000 house you bought 10 years ago is now worth $304,000. Whereas in Colorado, that $300,000 house 10 years ago is $500,000 or $600,000. And so ways that you can affect and kind of accelerate or speed up gaining equity are things like doing value-added improvements, things that we all like to do anyway. Maybe your kitchen is outdated, so spending a little bit of money on updating the cabinets, updating the countertops, updating the appearance and the functionality, putting in different appliances, different things, are different ways to increase your value. Finishing a basement, you're basically adding square footage, you're adding livable square footage that may benefit you in a practical way. I just got married a year ago. Space is important. Love her to death. I thought it positive that she'll say the same thing about me. But being able to have your own space and being able to utilize the space in your home is important. And sometimes, we're sitting on this unfinished basement. That's space, but it's not usable space. It's stuff you can go store things in. But if you can invest a little bit of money into your home and turn that into that extra craft room or that extra gym to help you as you're aging and trying to stay in shape. So there's a lot of ways that equity grows, but it's really just in doing the day-to-day operations that we do anyway. Living life. You gotta pay your bills. You gotta go through things. Your family grows, you need more space, things change. And so the normal things that we do in day-to-day life are also things that we can use to increase our home's value and grow our equity. So to get into one of the tools, there's really two ways to tap into that equity. There's three ways. There's some real evidence. You could sell your home, and if you sell your home, then you have gained all of that equity. You sold your home at $600,000, pay off your $400,000 mortgage, and now you've got $200,000 in cash. Now that works if you're moving to Texas, where things are cheaper. But a lot of times when you look at the market here, and you're like, well, if I go sell my home right now, and I get this equity, where am I going to go? Because I'm going to have to spend that same equity that I just realized on my new property. So this is really more of a strategy for those to, stay put, stay in your home, figure out ways to take some of that equity out without a home sale. So one of the ways is called a HELOC. A HELOC is really just a home equity line of credit. Think of it a lot like a credit card. You are given a maximum credit limit, and that's based on some of the equity in your home. So if we stuck with the example I was using before, we've got a $600,000 value home, we owe $400,000 on it, we've got $200,000 in equity. A home equity line of credit would allow you to tap into a portion of that $200,000. Now, we're not going to get down into the weeds because it depends on where your credit score is, how long you've been in the house. There's a lot of factors that determine how much of that equity that you can take out. But in a nutshell, a home equity line of credit is basically like being given a credit card that you can utilize to tap into that equity. It's a loan product that's a little bit more flexible than the other products that we're going to talk about, like cash out mortgage or cash out refinance. So the real pros of a HELOC or a home equity line of credit are a lot of us may have a good interest rate that we were able to obtain several years ago. And so you've got that 3.875 rate or that 4.875 rate that you were able to obtain during the COVID years that you couldn't obtain today if you wanted. It's just not available. Rates have moved and changed. So a lot of times somebody would look at a home equity line of credit as a way to take some of their equity without adjusting or messing with their first lien. So your first lien on a home equity line of credit stays exactly as before. You keep making your regular payments to your mortgage company, nothing changes there. A home equity line of credit is when you go to a lender like myself or Judy Jones, and you sit down and you go through obtaining a second lien. So you leave your first lien in place so that you're able to retain that good interest rate or whatever reason you have to leave it in place. The second lien goes and gets placed on your house, and that's where you're able to access the line of credit. In a nutshell, the biggest benefit of a home equity line of credit is, unlike a cash out refinance, the cash out refinance is a lump sum advance. So if we're just to bounce around a little bit, so I can give you a comparison. Same example, you owe $400,000 on your home, you've got $200,000 worth of equity. When you do a cash out refinance, you're basically creating a whole new loan that is going to pay off your old loan. So I'm going to take out this $600,000 new loan. And now I'm going to pay off my $400,000 loan that I owed, and I've got $200,000 of cash left, cash out. I'm taking cash out of the property. Now, on a cash out, you can only do that one time. It's a one-time thing. You've got your $200,000 up front. But it works great in comparison to a, like, hey, we're just finishing our basement, and we need all this money up front, all this up front. A home equity line of credit, like a credit card, remains open. So in a cash out, you're paying all the fees, everything up front, because you're taking all the money right then. In a home equity line of credit, you may have a line of credit for $200,000, but maybe you only need to use $5,000 right now. So you go to Home Depot, you swipe your home equity line of credit card, and you pay your $5,000, get your materials, do whatever you're doing, and you go on about your business. The benefit of the HELOC is that now you're only paying interest on that $5,000 versus the cash out. Because you took the lump sum all at once, you now start making payments. You got a $600,000 loan amount now on the cash out versus I might have a $200,000 balance on this HELOC at some point, but today I only need to spend $5,000. Tomorrow I only need to spend $6,000 or whatever projects you're doing. So just to really give you some comparisons, think of a HELOC like a credit card. I can spend on it, I can use it as I see fit, versus a cash out refinance. It's one and done. I'm going to the bank to get a personal loan, and I'm going to deposit that money into my checking account. I don't have to spend it all at once, but I'm still paying interest on it all at once. And so you really have to kind of determine what your projects are, what your goals are, what you're going through before you can really determine which is the best loan for you. Both of these are tools. They're tools that you can use to achieve different goals. You can use a home equity line of credit to pay for renovations. You can use a home equity line of credit to pay for your child's college. You can tap into these equities and use them in any way that you can. And this is just another way to remain in your house and then tap into that equity. Because right now, maybe selling your house is the time. Maybe years from now is the time to sell your house, but in the short term, instead of going to get a credit card at a 28% interest rate or whatever it is, there's a lot of strategic ways that you can utilize the equity that you've already built up in your home. Because at the end of the day, all of you that are homeowners know there's a lot of benefits to it. There's a lot of times you love that house. When that roof has to be replaced, or when that water heater goes out, you might have some different thoughts about that house. Now, it's just a reality. I still think no matter what, you still have some safety and benefits and security over being a renter. But this is just one of the many tools that you can use to tap into that money and become more financially savvy, because as you heard some earlier speakers touch on, one of the big benefits of homeownership is being able to write off and tax. The tax benefits of writing off the interest that you pay on the mortgage. Well, doing a HELOC or a cash out is no different. Many of you are here, and you might have $20,000 sitting on a credit card because you finished your basement. Well, you might consider doing a cash out refinance and moving that 28% credit line to a 6% interest rate, or whatever interest rate you're able to negotiate with your lender when you get to that point. But the benefit that I was initially touching on is whatever that interest rate is, it's now tax deductible. So there's a lot of clever ways that you can utilize the equity that's sitting in your home to really leverage and help make your life better. So just to kind of give a quick 30,000 foot overview, the main differences, I think that both of these tools are beneficial and advantageous to use, especially in a rate market environment that we find ourselves in right now. HELOCs are really for flexibility that you need. I need to spend 5,000 now, and I might not need another 5,000 for 6 years from now. Most home equity lines of credit have what are called draw periods. So you choose how long your credit card remains open. So I want a 5-year draw period, meaning I have 5 years that I can swipe this card, spend money within my maximum line of credit, and then at that point, my credit card cuts off and it becomes a repayable 25-year mortgage. If I have a 10-year draw period on a 30-year loan, I've got 10 years to swipe, use for the funds as I see fit, and then it cuts off and I begin repaying that on a 20-year mortgage. Versus a cash out, where, like I said, it's one lump sum, you're getting all that right there. And it's really, there's a lot of pros and cons to each one of these. What I suggest is if any of you are considering either any of these products, that we just take some time to sit down face to face and really go through what are you using it for? How long do you think you're going to use it? Why are you going to use it? And a lot of those things can help you navigate what's the best product for you. Because the best product for Octavia may not be the best product for me, and may not be the best product for Pastor. So it's really about sitting down and utilizing the resources that Octavia has put together for you to figure out the best way to utilize your equity and maximize it. Use it in a way that benefits you. We've kind of talked about some of the common uses, but there's no real stop to what you do with it. Most of the time, you're going to use it for home renovations or, like I said, debt consolidation. If somebody is sitting there looking in this market, and I've got $25,000 in credit card debt, and that monthly payment is eating me alive, and you notice that the average rate that you're paying is 21% on those, well, then you might consider going to do a cash out refinance and paying all those debts off that are at a much higher clip to consolidate. And now maybe my monthly payment's $500 a month where it was $2,000 a month. So lots of ways to use it. Emergency reserves, I've seen people as they're getting towards retirement or considering retirement. Hey, my nest egg is not where I want it to be. So I'm going to pull some money out because I'm going to invest this money in my 401k or my retirement or whatever matching that they're getting before retirement sets in. So there's just a lot of ways to really think and strategize about how you can turn your hard-earned, when you're making that monthly payment and it's not easy, and there's nobody there to help, and that water heater went out, that's all building up year over year over year into equity, into things that you really can utilize. So I challenge everybody to think about different ways. It's not always just running to a bank to get a personal loan. It's not always creating a borrowing network within the family and the family helping. All those things are important. There's also other tools and strategies to consider. So I think we've talked a little bit about some of the benefits, some of the considerations. I really just wanted these notes to kind of guide us to make sure that I touched on a bunch of things, but I think everybody sitting in their own table could figure out how you could utilize one of these programs if it were available. Like I said, college is expensive, and as I'm sitting around with some of my friends that are reaching this age and sending their kids to college, I was sitting with a guy at dinner last night. His daughter got accepted to the University of Miami. I was like, oh man, that's awesome. She's going to have such, I'm thinking about football and the college experience and all this stuff. And he looked at me like I was crazy and said, no, right there, do you? The tuition is $90,000 a year. And he's doing pretty well. He won't be doing pretty well in 4 years. And so it's about utilizing some of these things that are already at our disposal to help leverage and help. I mean, the $90,000 a year, yeah, it's a stark number, but when you think about what that's going to do with his child and how she's going to grow and all the experiences that she's going to have from it, he'd do it 10 times over. He needs to make sure he has a way to do it. And so this is just one of the many tools that people in the audience can certainly utilize and think about. And then the last thing that I'll close on, just because you have access to this money doesn't mean necessarily you protect it. I don't think that a good use of a cash out refinance is, I don't know, buying my Porsche. That's your dream, and you work for it, so who am I to tell you not to do it? But let's be honest, what's your real financial goal? what are you really doing this for? Because this money is not free. At the end of the day, even though you may not be paying out of pocket, it may be financed or rolled into your loan amount, and all of these clever tools that we lenders use to make it seem better. Let's just be honest, at the end of the day, you are still borrowing money. You are still taking a loan out, regardless of what you're using it for. I have a guy that's taking a little bit of extra out to take his family on a family vacation. He's taking 40 of his children, grandchildren, relatives to Jamaica. Hopefully he doesn't forget the lender to help him get there. But nevertheless, it's all about what is your financial goal, what's important to you. And even though I could say is the best usage of the money that you've built in equity or vacation, who am I to say? He's about to create a whole bunch of memories that they're going to be talking about for 20 years after he's gone. So more power to it. I'm glad that he has the tools to be able to use it to leverage. So I'll be in the back if anybody has any specific questions or anything that they want to talk about that may be unique or to their own situation, because nobody's situation is the same. But there's a pathway for every one of you that is interested to learn and talk about just some different and non-traditional ways of thinking of how to raise money. So I'm not as technologically savvy as the ladies that went before me, so there's no QR code. I'll be handing out good old QR code business cards. And no, all jokes aside, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to come and invest and learn a little bit more. And if there's anything I can do to help you in any way, please let me know.
So thank you again, Stephen. I'm gonna have Stephen continue, and he's just gonna go over reverse mortgages, give you guys kind of a glimpse of what that is, how it works, how it can be utilized. So.
Go back. So I don't have any slides or anything prepared for this. This wasn't a planned thing, but I think this is a topic that's really, really important. Reverse mortgages are one of the most powerful financial tools that exist out there. There are a lot of misconceptions on it. There's a lot of fear that surrounds reverse mortgages, especially in the community that I work in. Very frankly, reverse mortgages were a tool that was used by predatory lenders over the last 20 to 30 years. I would say in the last decade, there have been a lot of advancements, a lot of things that have been done to strengthen the reverse mortgage product and make it a much safer product for our seniors and our folks that are using it. So for those that don't know, reverse mortgage is a product that you have to be 62 years old to use. And it's, in general, exactly what it sounds like, the reverse of a mortgage. So what a reverse mortgage is a reverse mortgage doesn't require any house payments. You can live in that house for as long as you live. There's a lot of tools in reverse mortgages, similar to how a HELOC works or how a cash out works, where you're able to access some of the equity up front. So depending on everybody's scenario, the reverse mortgage is really based on age as well. So the older you are, the more that you can borrow. The unspoken thing about a reverse mortgage is the reality is, if you think about it, because you're not making any payments on that loan while you're living, it's the reverse of a mortgage. Normally, you're making a monthly payment and you're knocking down what that balance is. A reverse mortgage is still charging you interest, just like a forward mortgage is. The problem is you're not making the monthly payment to push it down. So what you owe on a reverse mortgage every month is going up. So that's why they call it a reverse mortgage. Now, in reality, what's really happening is a lender goes and ascertains the value of your house. We'll just stick with our example. We've got a $600,000 home. And let's say you owe $200,000 home. So you've got quite a bit of equity in that home, $400,000. A lender is going to use a life insurance actuary. An actuary's job is to determine what your likely life expectancy is. So it's a pretty dark home, but let's just talk honest, we're all family here. So the reality of that is the lender is looking at how long do they expect you to live? What do they think the value of that home is going to be when that date comes? And so then they'll come back to you and say, okay, hey, you owe $300,000 on this house, it's worth $600,000 today. We think that 25 years from now, that home will be worth $1 million. So then they come up with all these different tools and strategies of, in some instances, maybe you need to borrow some money up front. Full disclosure, I've done a reverse mortgage for both of my parents, that live in Texas, we were separate. My father was suffering from dementia. And I made a promise to him many years ago that I would never put him into a nursing home. I would never just turn him over to the state or do it. Now, I'm gonna keep that promise as long as I can give him the care that he needs. But as this disease progresses, I may reach a point where I'm unable to provide that care, and we're gonna have to have some honest discussion. The reason that I bring that up is because when we did a reverse mortgage on my father's house, his house payment was about $1,100 a month with taxes, insurance, everything included. Now that we've done the reverse mortgage, he's able to stay in that house for the rest of his life. He no longer has that $1,100 a month payment to make. And now we're able to use that $1,100 a month to pay for his health care. There are nurses that come in, he is the most spoiled senior of all time. 3 times a day, these ladies are in cooking, cleaning, doing all types of stuff for him. And as we get to the age where you unfortunately have to start looking at the cost of home health care and some of this stuff, it's daunting. When you start looking at what if I go to this assisted living facility, that's Tiger Woods is your kid. It's going to be tough. So we were able to utilize, so in his situation, we didn't necessarily need any upfront money. We didn't need a lump sum, anything like that. What we needed was the financial flexibility that he could take the same money that was being paid towards his mortgage and utilize it to make sure that he's able to live with grace and dignity, get the help that he needs. In my case, when we did her reverse mortgage, there were a lot of deferred maintenance and things that needed to be done on her house. And there was a lot of stuff that needed to be done to make sure that she could continue aging in place. And so in her case, we took a look at a different program within the reverse mortgage world, and she was able to get $30,000 up front as a lump sum. She took that $30,000, and renovated and did a lot of stuff on her house, and has been in that house that was 25 years ago. She's never made a payment since then. And in her particular loan, the value of the home has grown, so she's been able to pull more and more and more money. As the cost of living has not kept up with, well, I'm going to say it this way, as Social Security and retirement has not kept up with real life, she has been able to, so she's now created part of her reverse mortgage into an annuity. So now the reverse mortgage pays her $500 a month that she gets for the rest of her life and never has to repay. Now, at the end of the day, where all the stigmas come in, there's no free money in this world. They're not just giving hundreds of thousands of dollars to seniors because they love you or you're a veteran that served. If that was the case, we'd all just go lie about our age. And I'm 62 too. And so, but what it really comes down to, at the end of the day, this is still a mortgage. This is still a loan. This is still a product. So even though on a reverse mortgage, where the value or what you owe is going up every month because you're not making a payment, remember at the beginning, that's why they got an actuary involved. Because an actuary was determining not what the house value is today, what's the house value going to be in 10 years? What's the house value going to be in 15 years? And so the bank is making a long-term bet. We're not going to get paid for 10 or 15 years. We're still going to charge interest every month, just like a forward mortgage. The difference is you're paying it down every month. In a reverse mortgage, now newsflash, you can make a payment. The bank will accept your money. Surprise, surprise. So you don't have to, you can structure this in whatever way you need or see fit. But the benefits of reverse mortgage are just how flexible they are. My mother has begun making repayments because she's concerned that she thinks that I would leave her house. At the end of the day, she doesn't want to leave this house that's upside down or that she owes more value on than the house is worth because she thinks she's creating a burden for me. Because at the end of the day, it really comes down to, for those of you that maybe want to leave the house to your kids, and I get a lot of pushback, they're like, well, I can't do a reverse mortgage because my kids would have to pay it off. If you pass away today, you owe Wells Fargo today. Your kids are going to have to pay off Wells Fargo if they want that home. So a lot of the stigmas that are attached to reverse mortgages are just simply not understanding how they work. They are a mortgage in themselves as well. So if there's a debt owed, when the inevitable happens and the owner of the reverse mortgage passes away, your heirs get three options. If they'd like to keep the house, they have the same option that they have with going Wells Fargo now. They've got to refinance that loan or pay it off so that they can continue having that. Maybe that's why you have a life insurance policy. Maybe there's other mechanisms that you have in place to help with it. If I decided I wanted to keep my mother's house and I wasn't able to pay it off, I'm not 62 years old, so I'm not eligible for a reverse mortgage, but I could go and refinance that home into my name, and I'd be given 12 months after her passing to get that completed. If I decided I wanted to sell the home, because maybe it's worth $600,000 and she only owes $300,000, I have that same right. I would go and hire a realtor and I'd list the home, and when Octavia sells the home for me, I profit whatever was left over. The same option that your kids have if the inevitable happens now. The last option, which is the best that nobody talks about, this is a legal term, so it's important. Reverse mortgages are a non-recourse loan. What that means is that they cannot come after your heirs, they cannot come after your estate. My mother is winning the reverse mortgage lottery because if you looked at what they thought the house would be worth and what she owes, she's winning. She owes a whole bunch more than the house is worth. And that's been a blessing to us because she's been able to utilize that and utilize that in her life. Once they agree to the $500 a month annuity, that's for the rest of her life. And it doesn't matter that house values have changed and home values have slowed down. So at some point, whenever the inevitable has happened, I'm going to look at that house and be like, oh, that was great. I went to high school in that house, a lot of great memories. You owe what on that? Hey man, tell me about that non-recourse part, because you're allowed to walk away from home. Because in that case, if my mother owes $700,000 on a house worth $300,000, hey, we won. She lived great. She got that annuity that made her life great. She's on a cruise with her sisters right now with that money. So more power to her, and I'm happy because it's given her the quality of life that she worked and deserves. But on the same token, there's still a reality at the end of the day to where, okay, hey bank, you're gonna have to keep that house. And that's one of the options. So you can walk away from that house and your heirs have no responsibility for it. And so there's a lot of benefits. I'm not gonna go too much deeper into this because reverse mortgages are really a family type of thing. Whenever I talk to somebody about even considering a reverse mortgage, we start with just the basics to make sure that you understand the program itself. Then from there, we try to set up a face-to-face or a Zoom meeting with not just you, your kids, because it needs to be a family decision. I don't have to pay off my mother's house. I can't walk away from it. But the heirs need to know what they're up against. They need to know, and it just makes it easier and more transparent. Because it's one thing to do a reverse mortgage, think mom has this house free and clear, and then you go into this thinking, there's my inheritance is owned by Bank of America. That's cute. I wish you had told me that. So it's about being transparent. It's about sitting down. It's about structuring these for each individual family. You can use reverse mortgages for purchase now. So one of the beauties is I'm helping a lady that has lived in Park Hill for about 40 years. It's the value of the houses continue to increase, but so have the repairs and the things that she needs to take care of, and that have become kind of overwhelming. And so at the end of the day, in order to get the value that she really wants out of the home, she's got to spend about $100,000 that she doesn't have to fix up. So in turn, one of the things that she's going to look at is selling the home to an investor so that she can get a lump sum. She's going to take that lump sum and put a big down payment on a reverse mortgage for purchase. So now she's going into a $750,000 home, all ranch, brand new, everything has never been lived in, warranties on everything, so she doesn't have to worry about when it's going to break. You don't need the chairlift so she can get to the basement anymore. Everything's on one level, and she never will have a payment. On a $750,000 house in Colorado right now, okay, $6,000 a month. There's some real numbers that go with that. And so to be able to move herself into a place where she's no longer fearful of my house catching fire because I wasn't able to really fix this electrical system, or the buckets that I have to move around every time it rains and leaks. She's really able to put herself into a place where she now focuses on what's important, enjoying her family and enjoying the golden years that she worked to enjoy, not stressing about a home and trying to fix everything. So I could talk forever. I'll leave it there. There are lots and lots and lots of tools about reverse mortgages. If anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to get with me in the back. I'll give you some paperwork and we will spend some more time diving into how a reverse mortgage can help you and help you. There's no limit to what you can do with it. I have a lady that's taken out a $200,000 lump sum. She will not ever have a house payment with it. She's going to buy a duplex down in Colorado Springs that her daughter's going to live in one half and she's going to rent out the other. She'll never have a payment on it. It's pure cash flow. So now she can increase how she lives daily. So there's just a lot of ways that you can utilize it and don't forget to start a business. Start that business you always dreamed of. So either way, if anybody has any questions, I appreciate you letting me put y'all to sleep. Yeah, I'll meet you in the back and pass it on.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Wow. All the resources, it's incredible, right? The power of real estate. So, I'm gonna present the next presenter. We have Jordan Lupon. He is one of my business credit and personal credit specialists. So, credit is a very hot topic among people, and oftentimes I run into with my first time home buyers, it's a credit issue. So, he's a wealth of information. We've worked together quite a bit. I'm happy to be here. So, Jordan?
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to say thank you for having me. I want to say thank you for inviting me to do a bunch of events. We've been seeing Black Arts Festival, so it's good to be able to give this information to you guys, so you guys are fully aware and knowledgeable about the credit. A lot of us don't get credit education, personal financial education, so we try to fill the gaps with some of the events we do, Zoom calls we do, business events we do, and so on. It's really good. Yeah, I'm Jordan. I've been in the credit industry for over 8 years. I kind of talk about credit as if it's the dirty work, right? I tell people, if you want to get rich, do not start a credit repair company. It's not going to happen, right? There's a lot of things that happen within the credit space that make people fail the credit repair process, right? You have to show up, you have to be willing to work, and sometimes that gets in the way. But I try my best to credit coach and get you guys through the process, right? So when it comes to credit, there's a bunch of different things that you need credit for, right? Purchasing that car, that's a big one. Getting approved for a loan application, personal loan, and to have some good credit for that. Security deposits for an apartment right now, it's tough to be a renter. And sometimes if you have bad credit, they charge you a higher deposit to get into the apartment. And then you already have to make 2 or 3 times the rent to just get qualified for it. Car insurance, different types of insurance, we check your credit as well. And then purchasing a house, it's a huge deal. And sometimes you guys just need help with that, so you gotta get in and help you guys out. Educational background. went to CU Boulder, studied history and philosophy, so I got my degree. And then I went to Burridge Community College, got a degree in mathematics and tech. Certified in credit repair, certified as a personal finance coach as well. And then doing all this other stuff that repairs different things. All right, so this is, hopefully you guys can see, if you can, I'll try to verbalize it so it makes sense for you guys. This is kind of dissecting the credit score, right? Not a lot of people know exactly how your credit score is made up. So this pie chart is called the credit pie, right? It's two different categories, right? So 35% is that payment history, right? So this is how TransUnion Equifax experience with your credit score. Payment history is a shame because some people have 200 outside payments and they get all the payments that they do. One missed payment, your credit score is about 50 to 100 points, right? And that's not a person house or getting a physical cost. 30% is amounts owed, right? And this is just a ratio depending on how much credit card debt you have versus what the credit card limit is. The creditors, they really like to see you with a high credit limit, low credit card balances. And for every dollar that you spend on your credit card, your credit card when it comes to the credit card history, they recommend 30%, right? 30% utilization for your credit cards. But that is insane to me because let's say you have a credit card that has a $10,000 credit limit, that means you're going to spend 3 out of $10,000 behind. Right, and that's going to weigh you down. The personal house is going to take a lot out of your income. Right? Next one is 10% credit mix. Right, this is like when you have lines of credit, you have mortgages, auto loans, business loans, credit cards. The creditors would like to see a mixture of credit, right, so that when they're having moving report, they know that you can handle it with a comparable loan, like a personal loan or a business loan that has installment payments. Right? 10% is going to be your new credit, so there's two sides to it. One is every single time you apply for some type of credit card, you get an increase, but if you talk to 5, 15 points, don't get paid, you get more. The other side to that is the creditors do like to see you get approved for different credits throughout the years. Right? So that's how they formulate that 10%. And then the last one, 50% late credit history. This is just the one we know most commonly. Right? It's just how old is your oldest credit card or loan, auto loan, whatever it is. Key things most people don't know. Every credit card you have has age to it. Right? So you might have a credit card on this side, 10 years old, good payment history, it's all good. But as soon as you open a new credit card is 0 years old. Right? So those two credit cards and their ages will come together and average out that you do not finish in 5 years of debt. So that's why we like to get involved with repairing, repairing structured credit. If you might make a mistake, try to purchase a house and you're trying to do the credit by yourself, and you might diminish the decrease your credit history, right? The other one is we recommend never close an account for any reason. You might have to dispute with the credit card company. They said you missed the payments. You're like, oh, I did miss the payments. It's not going to matter. They're still going to mark it as a missed payment. But if you get mad and try to close out that credit card, it's not going to help. It's not going to remove that missed payment. But it will totally fill that rate of credit history for that credit card. And then also, it's going to remove some of those on-time payments that's been made throughout the years. Right? So you're going to never close the account. All right, so this is a credit gauge. There's just really 3 brackets of credit. Number 1, which a lot of people find themselves in, the statistic is about 60% of people have either bad or fair credit. But fair credit is kind of misleading because fair credit just means you have decent credit. You don't officially get good credit until you're at 680, 690, right? So anything below 600 is going to be subprime credit. You're going to get approved for the worst interest rates, monthly payments, but a lot of times you just won't get approved, depending on what it is that you want to approve for. What's in the orange right there, 600 to 700, it's non-prime, which it's like fair credit, and then once you get really high to 600, it's then your credit split, right? But you get your foot in the door, you get approved for different things, but you're not gonna get accepted for the best loans with the lowest monthly payments. And with today's economy and inflation and everything, that's what you want, right? You want the lowest payments, the lowest interest rates, but you have to be able to make it into the 700s to get those. It's just hard to stay in the 700s when one emergency can set you back. You know, and then it might not even be something internal, it might be external. There's recession, see coming, you go to the hospital, you're not in control of those things. And those are things that set you back into the 600s, into the 500s, right? So we try to rebuild and restructure credit to be more safe and sustainable, so you're not affected by external factors like that, right? At the very bottom, there's a percentage, it says 73%. That is the credit card utilization percentage. So the example I like to use with this is, let's say you do get approved for a credit card with a $10,000 credit limit, right? Over the next 3 months, you spend 5 out of the 10,000, that's 50%. So that percentage would reflect that 50%, right? Because it's a max out percentage. So it just tells the lenders how much you're maxed out, right? 50% is bad, you know, 30%, your credit's gonna drop. But as you move up that percentage, your credit's gonna go down, 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 down. So we try to recommend no more than 9%. It's just hard to have a 9% credit card utilization. Go to the hospital, car breaks down, you gotta use credit card. Because a lot of people have savings nowadays, so your emergency savings, it's the credit cards. And that's the first thing that gets swiped, and then now your credit back, right? So we try to make sure that, you know, if you have a $10,000 credit limit, you don't spend any more than $900 out of that amount, right? It's just difficult. Okay, so tips and warnings. So cosign, I always recommend, well, cosign is risky, right, for a car, whatever it is, right, it's risky. I always say, I don't care how deep in love with somebody you are, wife, you know, it could be family, whatever it is. Do not put your credit on the line because it could ruin the relationship, you can end the relationship, and through personal experience and just seeing all my clients go through some things, once the relationship's over, they don't care about your credit. You help them get a car, you help them get this, they stop making payments, now they messed up your credit, now it's a huge problem for you. So double the problem. So the reason why it's so high risk is because, let's say you help somebody get a car, it's a 60-month payment, right? All those payments, if they miss a payment, you miss payment, right? And it's very hard to get off of somebody's auto loan as a cosigner, right? I had an instance where I had a client, he helped his brother get a car. His brother missed some payments, didn't tell him. And in the process, it was at like 680, he went back down to 620, right? Just because of this. And then he messed up his relationship with his brother. So just don't do it. If you really love somebody, get some cash or some money, go to the dealership with them, and just put that on the line instead of the credit. Trust me. Second one, adding authorized users. It's a lower risk. And this is, some people know about this, some people don't. With your credit cards, let's say you have really good credit, you want to help your cousin out, you can add them to your credit cards, and they will absorb all your payment history and the credit card information. Right, so as long as your credit's good, you can help them out, right? Problem is, they will send your cousin credit cards that are attached to that account that he can use. Right, so you gotta make sure you either change the address or you do something else. If you open that account information up and he spent $2,000, you know, ruin relationship again, right? So now you can, if you are somebody that was added to somebody's credit card, let's say, and they originally have good credit, but they spent a bunch on their credit card, it will ruin your credit, even though you're just added to it. But it's easier to remove somebody from the credit cards, right? So you can get removed, or you can remove somebody else that's messing up your credit, right? So it's a low risk. Bad spending habits. I've had this situation happen with some clients. We're repairing things, you know, because we remove collection, mispayments, inquiries, repossessions, bankruptcies are really hard when we try to get those off of them. But let's say we removed a bunch of things are going well, the credit has increased, but then they're swiping on the credit card, which is increasing their credit utilization, which is bringing the score down. And then they look at me like, what's going on? You going on? You're not doing what I'm doing, you know? So, you know, try not to spend on those credit cards. We have some good setups and strategies to prevent that. Okay, so this is, when US News, 53% of Americans cannot handle $1,000 emergency without worry, right? Um, that's more than half of us right now, right? So what that means is a lot of people don't have savings, right? And one thing that we also do is personal finances, so budgeting, saving, money management, spending. Those are a lot of people's problems as well. The one question that we try to pose is, what is financial security? Right? A lot of people will try to skip steps, like we always do, and move from, financial instability to financial freedom, right? And just, rags to riches, that's what we try to do, but there's a step in between, which is getting to financial stability, which is, having all your bills paid on time, living without debt, saving for retirement, keeping money in the bank for emergencies. So we try to get people to that place first. And then if you want to get rich and buy 3 or 4 homes and become a landlord investor, that's good, but let's not try to skip steps like that, right? Okay, so this is just a slide on lending when it comes to credit. So with lending, it doesn't matter if it's a business loan, a mortgage, a personal loan, car loan, there are repayment risk factors that the lenders look at, right? And those are your income, your credit, and then the type of negative you have, right? And it's all a mixture of those that's going to depend on what, you get approved for it, and then what interest rate, what monthly payment, right? Something like a bankruptcy, you can get approved for a vehicle, depending on how much time has passed. You can get approved for a mortgage, right? You can. It's just not every lender is going to approve a bankruptcy requirement, right? So there are some that do, but the interest rate might be higher because they're offsetting risk, right? So I would try to have people avoid the bankruptcy because what I do is cheaper than you getting a bankruptcy, right? If you get things moving before, right? But in terms of, the up and down of those risk factors, typically this is how it works across the board. You higher your credit, you higher your income, and the less negative you have, and the type of negatives, it's going to get you approved for lower interest rates and lower monthly payments. This is how it's going to work, right? So good things to know. I do a free credit analysis via Zoom call, right? It just takes $1 to get your credit report pulled, and then we get you signed up for the actual Zoom call, and the pick a time that works for you guys to get on. It's a free service. I've been in business over 3 years. I've helped facilitate 3 closings, and then I've helped facilitate 3 auto loans over that time. So the more you give for free, the more you receive, and you can't do everything for money. That's the one thing we need to get away from. But I do the service for free for you guys to see what positive and negative you guys have on your credit, and that give you a timeline, everything like that, of where we need to be and how long it'll take to get there. I do debt settlement services, so like the credit debt collectors, they will hire attorneys to try to get the money that you owe them, right? So sometimes they'll send an attorney after you and try to collect. So I'll go back and forth against the attorney for you, so that it's not just you versus the attorney. And they will garnish your wages if they can. That's what they're trying to do. Auto refinances, some people, car payments are hard now. A lot of people pay $500, $600, $700 a month. And if your car payment is that high, the chance that you get approved for a house is lower because the debt saving ratio of it is not going to be in your favor, right? So we try to increase your score, refinance your car loan, and then send you back to the real estate agent with the mortgage broker. I also teach financial literacy, credit education, something that we never got in school, high school, college. We just don't teach them, they never will, because it makes you less money, because we don't know all this stuff. That's how it goes. And I do a 100% free personal finance consultation. Sometimes it's just your personal finances are the problem. Your credit might be 660, but you have a lot of debts. Your money's all over the place. So we will look at your debt management, spending, savings, financial literacy, investment education. When it comes to the education part of it, I don't make recommendations. I don't tell you where to put your money, but we educate you and then let you guys make your own decision based on what you guys know, right? And that's the presentation. I try to go as quick as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Appreciate you. All right. Coming up next, we have Miss Amelia Rose. She is a financial advisor. She does a lot in the insurance and investment space. So She's gonna be talking to you about how you can, create loans through other investment vehicles with your insurance, and also speaking to, some other topics as well. So, without further ado, Ms. Amelia.
Yes, I'm gonna be moving around, but just give me 1 second.
Also, after we're done, we're gonna have time to do a one-on-one with everyone. So everybody who's spoken and presented will in the back, we'll have our business cards, informational flyers, and we can also run through scenarios or just kind of address anything, whatever you need to address with either one of us. So.
So while we're to this, I had to shift gears. I did have a super cute presentation. I just changed it literally an hour ago, and that's what in the financial space, today I will not be doing any financial advising. That is my disclaimer. Why? Because I don't know you yet. And you might have your own financial advisor. But if you do not, I want to chat. Now, with all of that being said, who am I? I am Amelia Rose. I hail from the Midwest. I am from Cleveland, Ohio. I have been here about 6 years, and I am a member of Landmark Ministries, where my pastors William Faison and Angela Faison, yes. And so I have done many presentations on financial success, legacy building at Landmark, and I am so blessed to be here with Zion Baptist Church to be doing the same. Maybe it shows up. God is the boss, right? Okay. Look at that. Okay, so I do move around. I cannot stand still. So we have a lot of conversations, and I think I need to get closer to here. We had a lot of conversations today. We have talked about home ownership. We have also talked about lending, VA loans. We talked about HELOCs. We've talked about reverse mortgages. We've talked about credit. And all of these things are important. Every last one. But we need to get back to the basics. When I think about our community, the Black community, we have been mismanaged financially, big time. And so there's a lot of mistrust. There's a lot of things that we need to talk about. There's a lot of things that we need to kind of dispel and say, is that really true? Just like with the reverse mortgages, right? So I want to talk about protecting your legacy. If you are buying a home, you're really probably buying your home for your legacy to pass down from generation to generation, right? To build wealth. Well, what does that protection look like? Okay, so we'll talk about that today. And when I think about a financial wellness pyramid, the bottom part is insurance. It's not a cute topic, it's not a fun topic. It's probably one of my favorite topics, but I am a number geek, so I think I'm gonna have to go to recorded. There we go. So, when we are protecting our legacy, who has health insurance? Is everybody made to get health insurance? You gotta have it, kind of, right? Or you pay a penalty, yes? If you have a home, you have homeowners insurance, right? You gotta have it, right? We're gonna talk about homeowner insurance. If you have a vehicle, you have car insurance, right? We're gonna talk about those too. My favorite thing is to talk about life insurance. And the reason why is that it's something that the government does not make us have. And we gotta wonder why. Why does the government not mandate that we get life insurance? What is it? What's the secret? We gotta have all these other insurances, but not life insurance. So all these topics I can talk about for hours on end. I can, there's a lot to talk about, but my QR code is there. Why? Because this is a high-level conversation and I am not your financial advisor. So I will not be giving you any type of advice. I will not be giving you any recommendations. I'm just gonna give you some information. The word says, from a lack of knowledge we perish, correct? My people perish from a lack of knowledge, correct? Okay, so we wanna make sure that we have the knowledge because we don't know what we don't know. And sometimes we don't even know what questions to ask to get the knowledge that we need to have. So that's what this is for. So that is my scheduling link. You can schedule an appointment. It is virtual. If you need in person, we can do that as well, okay? So first, let's talk about auto insurance, okay? Jordan talked a little bit about making sure that we are able to withstand an emergency. Okay, I was just in a car accident April 7th. He was like, well, I have full coverage. I said, well, what does that mean? Do you even know what that means, right? So when we talk about auto insurance, okay, there's some factors that we need to consider. This QR code is going to be on like every slide, so if you miss it, that's fine. But when we talk about having full coverage and what that truth is, we need to make sure that we can withstand an emergency. Do we have enough coverage if I was to be in an accident, yourself, or you caused an accident, right? So this person that caused the accident with me, they don't have enough insurance to pay for my medical bills. This was back in April. And so the insurance company is going to go after them. I won't. I don't have time, right? The insurance company is going to get their money back. And so when people say they have full coverage, they have bodily injury, they have property damage, they may even have uninsured, underinsured motorists. But they also have comprehension and collision coverage. That is the only thing, those two bottom ones, comprehension and collision, that's the only thing that makes your coverage full coverage. But what if your bodily injury that you caused somebody else was over $25,000? Where's that money coming from? Who's gonna pay that bill? I'm not paying it. I didn't cause the accident, right? And so we have to really know what this information is because we could have, I got full coverage. I got it, I have insurance, but we need to know what that means, okay? Proper protection, $250K. My injuries were over $50,000. I was sitting at a red light. I was stopped. They did not. It's crazy. I can't sleep. I have headaches every day, all day, that type of thing, right? And so they looked at it and was like, it's not that bad. That's crazy. Okay. Okay. But, like, they didn't have proper protection. Now they're going to be sued by the insurance company to finish paying my medical bills. We don't want that to happen to you. Okay, we want to make sure that you are talking to a professional. I don't have to be your professional, but you need to talk to a professional. Would I like you to do? Would I like you to choose me? Absolutely. But I need you to talk to someone you trust about your auto insurance. What does it even mean? And so that is just the responsibility of just owning a car, is that you have to know what your insurance means. Okay? I have 3 young drivers in the house. I need proper protection instead of just some random state minimum. Because I have 2 boys, a girl that's getting ready to drive in the house, and I need to make sure that they don't bankrupt me. If something like that happens, right? And so when I'm talking to my clients about protecting their legacy, I'm protecting my babies with the proper insurance. I'm protecting the people that I love with the proper insurance. I'm protecting the insurance company not going after my home because I have the proper insurance. If they don't get their money, okay? They're gonna get their money. When we talk about renters and homeowners insurance or condo insurance, there's a lot of things that come into that. So we have realtors here that you know and trust. We have some lenders here that have been vetted and that do the work in the community, okay? So we need to make sure that we are talking to the professionals, right? And so when you start talking about insurance and protecting that legacy, are you properly insured? Do you have enough to cover if something were to happen? Jordan just talked about the average American, 53% of us cannot survive a $1,000 emergency. So this is something that you can't skip on. If something happens in your home, water damage, are you able to fund that without going into debt? Without maxing out your credit card? So when you are talking to your insurance specialist, it could be me, it doesn't have to be me, right? There's, right there, schedule an appointment, right? But I need you to talk to a professional, someone that you trust, right? So with a home, your home value comes into play. The more your home costs, the more coverage that you're going to need, right? Because if you can't cover something, it's coming out of pocket. I'm not sure, but I'm not there yet. And I say yet because God is in control, right? And so your roof age. We are in a hail state, right? And so when things happen to our roof, what's the roof protecting? Everything. Everything. So when you are looking into home ownership and things like that, a client that I think is working with now, I said to your builders to get you a class 4 roof. They're like, what does that mean? Just say it and get it. And we were at choir rehearsal yesterday and they're like, we got it. I said, good. I said, good, right? Liability insurance. Do you host gatherings at your home? Does family and friends come over? If somebody gets hurt in your home, you're liable. You're liable for those doctor bills and things like that. So you need to protect your assets. You need to protect your home. We talked about the water damage. They're doing a lot of work on sewer lines in the state, right? The streets are tore up. These cones are everywhere, right? If your homeowner's insurance doesn't have underground line protection, what they're doing on the street, it doesn't do anything with what's in your front yard. Your homeowner's insurance is going to pick up that piece. Because everything can be new out there, and then it's like, I can't tie into your home. Because your pipes are too old, or they're corroded. And if we can't handle a $1,000 emergency, you can't handle a $10,000 emergency. Because they're on your street tearing it up. Okay? Your claim history, your risk level. That's a lot about your credit score too. Are you risky? Are you a risky person to insure? So having good credit is important when we're talking about insurance, and we just heard about that. Credit is important. The location of your home is important to think about when you're considering homeowners insurance. Condo insurance, kind of the same, but you might have some HOA, some deductibles. You might have to pay for the pool area that's damaged, or the clubhouse that is damaged. And they will assess you, and if you cannot pay, they will put you out. So you need to make sure that you have someone that you trust that knows what your insurance should look like, okay? Even in renters. If you are living with someone, you need your own renter's insurance. Okay? Just don't bank on what they have. You need your own insurance. Okay? Claim history again. That's your risk level. It's almost like your insurance score. Similar to credit scores, not the same, but it's very similar. So when we're talking about auto insurance, home insurance, your budget is important. Understanding the loan, your loan amount is important, because that's your PITI, right? Principal, interest, tax, and insurance. Insurance is in there. So that's gonna be a part of your budget. So if you don't have a budget, we can talk about it. There's a QR code. We can talk about your budget, okay? It's the only way I can make this feel fun. You know, we've been sent through a lot of information, and I understand, but this is my jam. It's what I do all day, every day. So I love it. And I love to see my clients have the protection that they need, so they sleep at night. I get to sleep at night because I get to tell them, like, yes, you got it going on. You're good to go, right? And I love to support and love on my community. Now my favorite part, life insurance. So, we are mandated to have home insurance, auto insurance. We're mandated to have medical insurance, but we're not mandated to have life insurance. This is where the greatest wealth transfer happens. Homes, yes, it is a big wealth transfer, but your life insurance is even bigger than that. And if we don't start talking about it now, so that the generations that come after us are prepared, we are going to continue to be in danger with this wealth transfer. And we have come from a people, a diaspora of people that have money, that rule kingdoms. Our story didn't start with slavery. That wasn't it. We were rulers. We had kingdoms. We had them here too, even after slavery. There's areas here that they buried under lakes and reservoirs, right? And so we want to be mindful of how we are protecting our legacy, and we do that through life insurance. So, just simply said, and I'm sorry, my slides were way cuter, but there's two different types of life insurance. There's term and there's whole life. I have both kinds. I'm going to talk about myself first. So, own a home, and I have a 16-year-old son. I want to make sure that if anything happens to me before he graduates college and probably gets his master's, so by the time he's 25, he's taken care of. So I have a temporary policy, which is a term policy. It's $1 million term policy. Why? Because I own my home. And if I were here on earth, I would be helping my son with life. And so if something were to happen to me, I need to make sure he's okay. But just like our realtor and our loan officers were talking about, the difference between renting and owning, the temporary policy is like renting. It's an expense in your budget. Okay? I rent $1 million policy. But why is that important to me? It's only $67 a month. I will have paid just under $17,000 to have the peace of mind that my baby, my legacy, will be taken care of. I waste more than $67 just on the weekend, dilly-dallying, right? Like, oh, I need this, you know, right? But if I can really think about my budget and think about how I'm spending my money, and I'm saying think because that's a mental thing, right? If I can really think about what I'm doing, I can be like, that's a good investment. Just like buying a home is a good investment. You spend the money, but it's money well spent. So you have to think about that. How are you protecting your legacy? Do you have these things in place? Who are your beneficiaries? Who are going to benefit from your forethought of protecting your legacy? Is it your church? There's communities that put their church as a beneficiary for their life insurance policy. If we're wondering why people have names on buildings, that's because they put that church as their beneficiary. So we think about the things that are important to us, right? I'm not sure if everybody is a part of Zion, but think about your church when you're doing your legacy planning and you're protecting your legacy. Because there's a reason why you're here. Because you believe in the message, you believe in your shepherd, right? Then you have permanent, okay? I have 2 permanent policies. Why? Because when we were talking about reverse mortgages, we were talking a little bit about long-term care. Yikes. Right now, the average for long-term care a month, if you don't spend down, if you put into a nursing home, is between $8,000 and $15,000, depending on if you need memory care or not. I don't have that money yet. So until I do, I need a permanent life insurance policy that can help with that. And so, one story, my parents had policies. They didn't know why they had them, but they had them. At 18, I got to sign the paperwork, I'm a beneficiary. And now that I'm in the business, I looked at that policy and I was like, ooh, who knows this? We could have self-funded this. You have no equity in your policy? That's crazy. So just like a home, if you are to get a permanent policy, it builds equity. It can build cash value. And it's also helping to protect your legacy. It protects your ability to make an income. If you were not working, could you pay for your mortgage? That's when your permanent policy kicks in. It can help you pay for your mortgage if you are unable to, because it grows cash value. Okay? It protects your greatest asset, you. I know it talks about generation after generation after generation. We need to make sure that we are protecting that. The word is clear on what it says. Okay? And it's an asset. Because you own it. It's yours. That life insurance policy at work, you don't own that. That's not yours. So you need something else outside of work. Unless you plan on dying on the job, then you need something outside of work. I'm just saying. I don't plan on that. They get enough of you, right? They gonna get that too? That's crazy. Absolutely not. Yes. No, thank you. That job is just a vehicle. It's a vehicle to your whys, to why you do what you do, the fun that you want to have during retirement. It's just a vehicle. protect your assets. You are the asset. So it's just about rethinking things, changing your mindset, making this a permanent part of your budget, thinking about your credit, thinking about how we are going to, what type of loans do we need to get? After we do all these things, how are we going to protect everything that we've just built? If we have to do repairs on the home, can we do that? I don't know, a reverse mortgage may not work for you, but you could tap into your life insurance policy. My son, he's 16, he has 2. Why? He gets 10% average growth a year. What bank is giving you a 10% interest rate on your money? Any banks? Without losing any money. He doesn't lose any money. It just grows. So does my son have a savings account? No. He got 2 life insurance policies. Why? Because it can pay for your education. It can pay for the down payment of his first home. Permanent policies can be used as collateral. It can help you get that paperwork started. You want to start your business? These are the things that people don't want you to know about because it creates generational wealth. Having the proper protections in place are important to protect what you are building, what you want to build, and what you already have. Okay? So, you've invested time. We've invested time today, right? And I just asked for an offering. Let me tell you about my offering. Okay? You've invested your time. That's an offering to Christ. You've invested it. You've given it to learning more, to developing that knowledge. Okay? You have a talent. God has given every one of you something special. That's why you're still here. Every day you work, you wake up, you have something to do for the kingdom. Every day. So you've already offered your time, your talent. Your treasure goes to how you invest your talents. The parable of the talents. Are you hiding it? Or are you going out and investing it? And then my last offering is your testimony. You are here at this time for a specific reason. This is your Esther time, right? This is your Esther moment. You were meant to be here. Octavia was meant to be here to put this, to have this vision, to have a shepherd that says, I will give you space for this. The face-offs do the same for me. And so when you leave this place, I ask you to offer your testimony. What did you learn? Share it with someone. You got to get in front of these people. You got to talk to these folks. I just went to this thing and it was long, but I sat in it and I did the things and I was listening and I was taking notes. It's not helpful if it just sits inside of you. It's not helpful. You have to go out. You have to share what you learned. We have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable about talking about money, legacy building, finances, credit, budgeting. We can't learn just sitting with it ourselves. So that's my charge for you today. Time, talent, treasure, and testimony. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Amelia. That was amazing. I mean, even I'm inspired. You got me wanting to go back and check all my accounts and investments and making sure I'm in the right place, right? And that's why I love, being able to do these presentations and these seminars, because we each unique, like each of us individually bring something unique. I, as your realtor, I don't have all the answers. That's why I lean so heavily on my lender partners, my credit and business specialist, my financial advisor, Miss Amelia. Like, I don't have all the answers. So in the community, we really need to start coming together, bouncing ideas off each other, having conversations. We need more think tanks, honestly, right? So I really hope and pray that each and every one of you took something very valuable from today. I want to go ahead and close us out with prayers and final remarks. And yes, I'm a note taker, and I also want to share, because some of you may not know, I too was also involved in a car accident, rear-ended this year by a box truck. Okay, so when we're talking about memory, headaches, all the things, I'm still in treatment. I'm still here. I'm still pushing through. I may not be as sharp as I used to be, but you know what? God is within me. I cannot fail. So I'm gonna keep showing up. So my prayer is that today's seminar gave you more than information. I pray it gave you hope, and hope that regardless of where you are financially today, you can begin making decisions that change the trajectory of your family's future. I truly believe God has called each of us to be good stewards of what He's entrusted us. For some, that journey begins with purchasing their first home. For others, it's learning how to leverage the equity that they've already built. But whatever your next step is, my hope is that you'll take it with wisdom, confidence, and faith. Because a good person leaves an inheritance to their children's children. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey, and I will be honored to help take you to that next step.
And team, this has been truly a blessing. You have truly blessed us that we have gained knowledge that we need, that's going to take us further into with financial wealth, health, and just thinking about home ownership and the value in it. Some things came out today that I had no idea. And it's just a blessing that you have the knowledge that you have. We want to go from this, and we are going to go out, we are going to share what we learned today, because we don't need to keep this to ourselves. And those that missed out, they really missed out. They really missed out. And those of us that are here, we've gained so much from it. And we thank you so much for coming and just giving us something with what we need. Amen. Let's give them a hand wave. Now, pretty cool is divide. And secondly, you have surveys in your folder. I'm going to ask everyone to please complete your survey and turn those in to my wife and I at the back before you leave. And we do have, as our facilitators have told us, they're going to be in the back for anyone that have questions. Any concerns, want to sit down with them and get more information, it's set up back there for you. Please go and get all you can get while they're here. Amen. And now I am going to turn it over to Reverend Hodges to close us out.
Can we give the Lord a hand praise? One of the blessings is when you're in front of true professionals, you can follow along with them. They didn't use a whole lot of 25-cent words. They talked to you like you were over the fence. And it was a blessing because we retained a lot. You grow a lot. Now, I know on the other side, it's like a lot of that stuff makes you hold your breath, but it's like, wow. But you know what? God said, if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask in John 1 and 8, or excuse me, James 1 and 8. And so when you look about those things in your life, you're not living here just to occupy space. You are a blessing to those around you. You could be a blessing in a community. And now that you know that you can buy a house, you can get into a community and you can have a greater impact. Because a lot of times we want to talk to our neighbor about Jesus, but sometimes we need to talk to Jesus about our neighbor. But, and those are some wisdom things, is that we are strategically located in the city to say the same thing about Jesus Christ being our Lord and Savior. So as you think about our facilitators, keep them in your prayers. They have a hard job because everybody isn't receptive. Everybody may not have this time frame to receive what was given. And obviously the foresight of our pastor too allows us to transpire. What a blessing. We can definitely give the Lord another hand praise. And then I'm going to close out in prayer. You're free to devour and mingle and share ideas, but what a blessing. This has been an awesome undertaking. Amen.
I have just returned from the kitchen. They're bringing out a lot more food. There are boxes to take home stuff, pack up, and I have a week supply.
Amen. So all of this echoes stewardship. We were commissioned here to be good stewards. Because not only do we take in, we should be in a position where we can give out as well. So let us pray. Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come together as a family and see people that we haven't seen or that we would not be able to see in other settings, Father. You have brought them to us, Lord, and we are blessings one to another, Lord. Scripture says, iron sharpeneth iron, as a man sharpens the countenance of his friend. Lord, I thank you for new friends that have made us sharper, Father, that has given us an opportunity to see a vision greater than where we are, Father. And obviously, we have to mix it with faith. We're just not going to step out there whimsical, but we're going to be prayerful, Father. We're going to get an understanding that we can go for, Lord. And once you told us in the words is that in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. And we feel the safety of the counselors that we have entertained today, Father, that they have blessed us beyond measure, Lord. When we get a chance to sit back, let us sit back quietly and let us realize what our spirit man has recorded and act upon that accordingly, Father. We realize there is a time and a season for every purpose under the heavens. And Lord, you have a purpose for us as far as where we live and how we live, Father. Father, we thank you for this place called Cypress that has given us an opportunity to grow as people, to grow as citizens. As before we leave this earth, Lord, we want to make sure our mark is made in the right way, Father. Lord, we thank you for traveling mercy to and from, Father. Be with us and all that we say and do. Be with the conversations, Lord. Be with everyone that's under the sound of my voice and every household represented. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Let the church say, amen. Amen. Hallelujah.